Hey, thank you for clicking on the video. As you can see, we're going to be stepping into the White Chicks universe today. Now, if you've been living under a rock and you've never seen White Chicks before and you don't like spoilers, you should jump off of here, go watch White Chicks, and then come back. But if you don't care, we move on. Now, I don't actually have that much to say about White Chicks. I have one thing in particular that I want to talk about, and it's specifically Marcus's wife. I forgot what her name was. I'm gonna be completely honest, but that girl was so insecure, and like she just was overly suspicious of Marcus for no reason, right? Like when we first see her, she is accusing him of cheating because he was 2 minutes late, and like that's it. You know what I mean? Like, what if there was traffic? What if, stoplights, stop signs, 2 minutes is not a big deal. But for some reason, it was a big deal for her, right? And, she goes and, was trying to be okay with it or whatever. And she got a call about her credit card getting used over the limit or whatever. And it led her to the Hamptons, where Marcus was at, which led her to confronting him. And then, but she brought her friend along. Now, the friend is an issue, right? Because if you're surrounding yourself with people like that, people who are telling you that your man is no good and you should be asking him about all this and that, and even in, like, you see, even when they make up at the end, this girl is like, oh, you shouldn't listen to him, he is lying. Like, you have someone like that in your ear, first and foremost, I don't feel like that is your friend at all, because she doesn't want to see you in a healthy, happy relationship. If she did, she would not be encouraging the nonsense that she was encouraging, right? And also, like, people like that, they're like those, it's the misery loves company type of situation, right? Because clearly there has to be some type of unhappiness with inside of her, that she feels the need to um overcomplicate your life as well by having you overly question your man's actions. Okay. um Now, I understand her not feeling like seen by him, but what I don't understand is why she felt, because he's, working, like he's so caught up in work. That's what it was. I don't understand how she switched that to him cheating. Like when she calls, before we even see her, in the opening scene, when they have the store robbery or the store delivery, when they got in that shootout, she literally calls him and he's like, I'm at work. She calls his boss, which means you knew he was at work, but you're still acting overly suspicious. Like, I don't understand what you're doing here. Like, it's when people go out of their way like that, you have to wonder what the heck they're doing, that they feel the need to constantly accuse you of something like that, right? Because there is no reason for her to be like, well, you work too much and you don't notice the little things that I do for you, so you must be cheating as well, when it's proven that when he's not with you, he's working. Like, I would just be like, hey, I feel like I'm not being heard. I do feel like I'm not being seen. But I definitely would not be constantly accusing my person of cheating on me. That shit is weird, okay? And, he was falling asleep when she was talking to him in that kitchen scene. But he had a long day. I kind of understand it. You want to talk about some nonsense. The moment he walked in the door, you was ready for a fight. So like I wouldn't want to stay up for that either. You know what I mean? And I understand the misunderstanding when she goes to the hotel room and he's like, baby, it's a man, like you didn't give him a time to explain, because it looks weird, it sounds weird, it's, but, you know, someone who isn't already wanting to find something, like she's one of those type of people, she already wanted to find something. She wanted a reason to feel justified for being so suspicious of him. So that set her off and was like, oh yeah, that's the reason I need it. But this how you know that she cared, because in that moment, that was your cue, because you accepted that this man was cheating on you with another man who was dressed as a woman, right? That's what you accepted. That's why you stormed off from the hotel. Why did you go to the all white party? So you're just someone who wants to be in some mess. That's what it is, ultimately. And then you have this girl with you who also wants to be in mess and is encouraging. Like, you have to take people out of your relationship. That's why it's important that it's not about being secretive, it's about being private, and those are two different things. Like, everybody don't need to be up in your relationship. When you allow a bunch of people to come in and be all up in your ear, that's when things stop working out or don't work out in general. If like it's something that you had going on since the beginning of your relationship, it's something that's not gonna work out, because you're allowing everybody else but the two people who's actually in the relationship to dictate what goes on in the relationship. It was always gonna be a problem. Okay. That's pretty much what I want to talk about. Now, I do want to point this out as well because Latrell freaking, oh my gosh, this man was mad that Marcus wasn't white, right? So, and that baffled Marcus. Like, when you see his face when he take the mask off, he's like, "You mean to tell me?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm not a woman." He was like, "White?" He was like, like, right? And that should baffle you. He basically was like, "I loved the energy of this individual," and we see him have that night with the dude because they both were, drugged out basically. So, I think in that moment he was like, "Oh, well, uh I could deal with this if you was just white," type of energy, right? Because he had that self-hate thing. But this is my question, right? This is the question I asked myself, and this was like a question I recently asked myself. But was it that he didn't question his sexuality before and was interested in specifically white women, but then when that night happened and he was like, "Oh, well, I still was able to perform with this guy, even though we were drugged out, we were able to perform, so maybe like it's fine." When he realized it, he would have been like, okay, you're a white man, all right, I like you still, I don't care. But because he was like, "This is a black guy, I can't believe you're black," and the way he says it is like, even if it turned out to be a black woman, you was gonna have a problem. Like, but yeah, it was a little weird. Like, I wondered, like, when did you decide that you would have been okay with him being a man if he had been white? Like, I don't know. I don't know. It was such a weird situation. But yeah, that man was crazy. Yeah, but that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about when it came to White Chicks. Like, it's such a classic, and it's a nostalgic film to watch. I really enjoy it. So, I just wanted to talk about it because I had just recently watched it not too long ago, and it just made me want to talk about the wife a little bit. But yeah, why don't you tell me, if you made it this far into the video, what was your favorite part in the movie, right? And yeah, with that being said, if you enjoyed, please feel free to like and subscribe to the channel. And I will see you next time. Bye.